Welcome, welcome to Crafting a Meaningful Life. And boy, am I excited to have all of you here and listening today. I was on Christina Clark's podcast a couple months ago, and this woman just mesmerized me. And so my next question to her was, of course, will you be on mine? And Christina graciously agreed. And so today we get to have her wisdom, her light, her joy with us today. So welcome with me the beautiful Christina Lewis Clark. Welcome, Christina.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, Mary. You're such a light, and I'm honored to be here.
Thank you. So like me, you've been doing a podcast.
Yeah. It takes a lot more than you'd think, right?
Right. And everyone thinks they're going to do it, and they jump on, and maybe they do it for 2 or 3 weeks, and they're like, oh, I have to do that again today? Just kidding. Yes. I really don't want to do that. I don't want to commit. I don't want to take that kind of time. So
it takes some serious commitment. That's for sure.
Well, I want my listeners to really know a little bit about you and who you are, and a little bit of the past, a little bit of the present, and a little bit of the future. So let's start there.
Okay. Well, Christina Clark, and my podcast is called Good Things Spotlight. And I've got 6 little kids. So, and Mary, when she was on my podcast, it was the first and last time that I decided, oh, you know what? I think my kids will actually be okay here while I do this, because I was getting so used to doing podcasts, and I had a sitter there, and the sitter it is a lot. And so it just did not work. And so I have a very, very busy, crazy, wonderful life. But yeah, that's kind of what we're doing now. In the past, I grew up in Arizona. I'm the third of 4 kids, and kind of had a what a lot of people would consider a little bit of a unstable upbringing, which has actually been a huge blessing for me, because I've been able to see life from a lot of different perspectives now and appreciate the amazing things I have in my life now. That's just a very small taste of my past, but in the future, this is a question that of course you would ask because you're so goal oriented. And I was just telling my husband last night, everyone's been doing New Year's resolutions, and I do them every year, but this year I feel so stumped. And so I'm still working on them. If I'm being honest, I usually do my New Year's resolutions at the end of January. I don't know if it's because I have to fight against the norm or fight against what everyone else is doing. I don't know what it is, but I'm still working on those. And long-term future, my husband said we are done having kids.
Well, you have 6. You've done your share.
I feel like I've done my share, but he says unless the angel Gabriel comes down and tells him there's another child, we are officially done. So, to his credit, though, he's older than most parents of young children, and he's 53, and we have 11 years old down to 1, and like I said, 6 kids. And we've done about 32 rounds of fertility treatments to get our kids, and we've lost 7 babies in that time. And so it's not exactly easy. We don't just decide we're going to get pregnant and then get pregnant. And so he's burnt out, and I don't blame him. So as far as that front, I think we're done. But
I remember seeing that on your social media, that you did that wonderful conversation with people about you had 7 miscarriages in trying to have children.
Yeah.
And yet you kept going, kept trying.
Yeah, thank you.
That takes a lot.
I'm not going to lie and act like it was easy and that I had the best attitude the whole time. I tried, but I didn't always. In fact, the last little bit, we've been doing IVF, in vitro fertilization, so many times. My hair fell out, my lashes fell out, and we got pregnant, and then we lost that baby in an emergency surgery. And I also lost my fallopian tube. And then we got the courage to go do IVF again, got pregnant, and then we moved down to Provo, which was the house that you were in. And as we were moving in, I literally the day we were moving in, I started having a miscarriage. So I went into the doctor and I said, please no, because we knew we were pregnant with this little girl. And he did an ultrasound. He said, oh, look, she's measuring 5 days ahead. She's doing great. And then the next day I said, I just don't feel right. And I went back in, and they almost, I wouldn't say they rolled their eyes, but it was kind of like, okay, you're being an overprotective, over worrying mom. And they said, I'm sure that's what it is. And they do another ultrasound and they said, I'm so sorry, but it looks like this one passed as well. And so I lost another baby. But I can't share that story without also sharing the little miracles that happened in there. So we had just moved to this area. I didn't know a single person. And like I said, we're moving in. So we're swimming in boxes and I have 5 kids. And I just kept thinking, why, God? Like, I'm trying so hard. There's so many people who don't care about having babies. Like, why is this so hard when I'm making such a sacrifice to have children? And I had 5 women that day as I just gotten back from the doctor's office and I'm just crying and crying and crying. 5 women stopped by my house at different times, unbeknownst to each other. They stopped by my house, knocked on the door, and each one of them said something to the effect of, I know you don't know me, and I don't know why I'm here, but I just had a feeling to stop by. So 5 different women in one day. That was not a coincidence.
I just have a question about that day.
Sure, yeah.
I'm visioning it. You've been to the doctor's office. They've told you your child is not going to make it. You come home alone. You close your door. You're in this huge home. You don't know any of your neighbors. No one that can quick come over. 5 women show up. At any point, did you share with any of them what was going on with you?
The 5th one. So by the 5th one, I was a wreck. I was just,
Yeah.
I mean, I would hear my doorbell ring. And so, you know, you try to cover up that you've been crying.
Yeah.
Because we do that. And
Yeah.
why, I don't know. Like, we don't want to be vulnerable. You know, you're good at that. I'm not. So I kind of tried to hide it and would answer the door and like, oh, thanks. And would accept whatever plate of cookies or whatever it was, you know, that they brought. And thanks. Yeah. Nice to meet you. And then I would shut the door and then I would go back to sobbing. And the next one would bring in the same thing. And then by the 5th one, I answered the door and it happened to actually be Stephen R. Covey's daughter. And, she's my neighbor now. And, I answered the door and it's like I could not even fake it. I just was sobbing and I'd never met her before. And she was just like, oh my gosh, is everything okay? And I said, no, it's not. And I've never been that vulnerable with people I don't know before. And I just was sobbing and she just sat there and held me. And I hadn't even known this woman. I'd never met her before. And just that beautiful bond that women particularly can have was so meaningful and needed for me at that moment. And but the catalyst to that was I had to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
You know, because I didn't get to experience that with the other women because I was so busy patting my face and, you know, putting on my big girl pants and faking it till I make it, you know, that sort of thing. But by the last one, I couldn't, I mustered up everything in me and I couldn't. I was done. And anyway, that was just such a beautiful experience for me just to see that, like, okay, I offered up this vulnerability, but what I got back was tenfold. And I'm so close with her to this day. And that was such a beautiful experience. And then by that night, she said, hey, can I bring a couple women over to help you unpack? And I needed it. But of course I'd gone back, you know, right back into my, no. I'm fine. I don't need that. I'm totally fine, you know, whatever. But I was suffering. I was still having a miscarriage, as you probably know it. You know, you're going through that for like a week. It's like just a horrible experience. And I said no, and she kept texting. She wouldn't drop it. And that's kudos to her because I think she knew that I was trying to be strong, but knew that I needed the help. And she said, are you sure? Let me just come over here. I'm just gonna come over. And I finally said, okay. She talked me into it. She didn't bring a couple of people. She brought 15 women with her. 15 women, because I truly have the best neighbors in the entire world. They got right to work. And I'm not talking like, you know, when it's uncomfortable when people help you with something, because every 2 seconds they're asking you, where do you want this? Where do you want that? Like, and I'm like, I don't even know yet because I'm unpacking. I'm going through my stuff. Nope. They just figured it out. They put things away. And if it's not where I wanted it, I could go change it later. They're cutting, you got one person over here cutting down boxes. You got another one helping with my kids. You got another one over here cleaning and sweeping things up. You got another one over here unpacking. And it took an army of just these incredible, righteous women who took time out of their schedules, they're all accomplished women.
Yeah.
It's not like they had nothing to do. And they're all over here at my house, by that night and the next morning. And it was just, I was so touched. It was like, I had just, the day before I've been asking God why, which a better person probably wouldn't be doing that. But, I am who I am. And I was asking why I had to go through this hard thing again.
You know what they say, that's the first question. You should always be asking.
Yeah.
Why?
To understand, right?
And I think sometimes we think that because it's God or source or our higher power, we shouldn't be questioning.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't be asking why. But in every other aspect of our life, we know that is the question. Why is this happening in my life? And what am I to learn from this? And what is my next step? We ask that all the time. And yet suddenly we feel guilty for asking why. And I actually praise you for asking why, because that's the whole
Mary.
purpose of this. That's the whole purpose of all these struggles, are to get to the why.
That's another thing I love about you, Mary, is you are so introspective that I remember when we had that deep conversation, I loved the information that you offered up because, we should be asking those things as to, what am I supposed to be learning from this? What am I supposed to be doing with this?
Yeah.
But I was kind of more complaining,
Yeah. Well, you have a right for that
again?
too,
Like, what the heck? Come on, just give me a breaker. But anyway, like that was such a great experience in a lot of, in a lot of ways. And I told my husband, I knew that there was one more baby. I felt it, like every part of me just felt it. And so I talked him into it and he said, okay, but this is the last time. I said, I promise you have my word. This is the last time we're doing IVF. And and it's not, my husband's the nicest guy in the entire world. He's so good to me, so kind. I have been blessed with the greatest man. It was hard for him to watch me go through that.
Oh,
like it was torture, and even though it's like, of course I'm the one going through it, but he's my protector, and he just hated watching me go through that. It was so hard. And I mean, every aspect of physical, emotional, just everything. And so my doctor said, let's try this again and let's do it at the highest legal limit that the state allows. So now I'm injecting myself double what the normal amount is. So anyone who knows anything about IVF, you're sticking yourself with a needle in the stomach every night. And so I was doing 4 needles in my stomach every night, plus all the pills and everything like that. And then we went and did the extraction surgery, and where they take out your eggs and then, they try to make an embryo and all this stuff. Anyway, there ended up being a problem. Of course. And after all that, we've done hyperstimulation, which means we're taking whatever eggs I have left. And there was a big problem and it all went south. And so they couldn't make an embryo out of anything. And I remember just sitting on my counter, like with my head on my counter, just bawling my eyes out. And I couldn't get a hold of my husband. It was like he happened to be at this meeting that was all the way south, somewhere in Eagle Mountain that was far away. They were like clay pigeon shooting with this team building exercise thing. And
Wasatch
so by the
Wing and Clay. They were at Wasatch Wing and Clay.
Yeah. Yes. Were you there?
No, I wasn't there for that meeting, but I've been there. I know exactly where that is.
Yes. Okay. Of course you have. I swear, because every fundraiser or anything we've been to, you've been at too. Everyone loves Mary. Who doesn't? But anyway, he was, all the way out there. So by the time he gets to his phone, he's got, just probably 100 calls and texts, like, where are you? Just was panicking. But another miracle, my brother happened to stop by my house. And my brother, I'm super close with. I love my brother. We're only 1 year apart. So he sat there and just held me. He knew everything we were going through, and he just sat there and held me and even cried with me. And because we knew that was the last try. And so when we went into the doctor, he said, okay, so what's next? And he said, I'm so sorry, but this is the end of the road for you. Like, it's too dangerous to try anything else. And of course I sat there and cried again. And he handed us this pamphlet on, going to fertility counseling and stuff. And it just felt so dark. And that was one of the first times that I really was like, God, like, why? I'd questioned why before, but this was like, I felt almost bitter a little bit, like and I'm not going to get into political anything, but like, when you look around and you see people who they don't care about babies, and here I am doing everything I can to have a baby, and I feel like it's not happening, and I'm like, what in the world? But I knew that there was another baby, and so a couple months go by, and I'm, just still wondering why, but every single night I'm having this feeling there's another baby, and I'm like, okay, well, we look into adoption and we look into foster care. We can't do anything medically anymore. But when we looked into adoption, we looked into foster care. We were at the bottom of the list, believe it or not, because of our age and the fact that we already had 5 kids.
Yep.
And I didn't realize that's a thing. So like once, I mean, because my husband, let's see, at the time he was 50, 51, and I was almost 40. And so they don't want older couples, which I get because, unless it's like a desperate situation. So there's that plus the fact that we had other kids, they kind of put you at the bottom of the list. Well, anyway, so I just kept thinking, what in the world is going on? I just wish this feeling would leave me about this other baby. And my brother, who had just gotten married on their first try, gets pregnant with twins. And so he calls me from the doctor's office. He's like, guess what? We're having twins. And of course, I'm so, so happy for him.
Yeah.
But then I get off the phone and I go and cry in my room, like, what in the world? Are you kidding me on their first try? And so I called my husband and I said, Sean, every single night I have this feeling there's another baby. And he's like, Christina, what are we supposed to do? We've tried everything. It would take divine intervention at this point. And I said, I don't know. I just wish this would go away. So this is super personal and vulnerable, but I get off the phone and I get on my knees and I say the most heartfelt prayer, one of at least the most heartfelt prayers I've ever said. And I said, please, please help this feeling to go away. Or what do you want me to do? I'll go do IVF again, even though I'm told not to. I'll put my health at risk. Whatever you want me to do. And I get up from my knees, and then I said, like, also, if I'm not supposed to have a baby, just please shut that door for me. Like, just shut that door so I don't keep having these feelings. It's torturing me. And I get off my knees and I have this feeling, go take a pregnancy test. And I thought immediately, oh, I get it. He wants me to get rid of everything in my house that has to do with pregnancy. Like, let's just purge. Let's be done. And of course it said negative and I knew it would. And I put it down and I went in the kitchen, and 10 minutes later, I came back into the bathroom and I was getting something else. And I said, oh, I better throw that away. And when I'm going to put it in the trash, I looked and it said positive. And I thought, wait. I'm like getting my phone out, putting the flashlight on. I'm like, hold on, wait. I was not believing my own eyes. Like, what in the world? And so I'm like, I screamed so loud that my 4-year-old came running into my room, like, Mom, are you okay? And I was like, oh my gosh. And I'm just bawling my eyes out. And so I go take another pregnancy test because I'm like, this cannot be right. And it said positive again. And I was like, oh my gosh. So now it's only been 10 minutes since I've had this conversation with my husband, because literally we have this conversation. I get on my knees and say a prayer. I get up and I take a pregnancy test, go in the kitchen, come back. That's all that's happened. And I call him and now I'm bawling again. And he's probably like, oh my gosh, what is happening? And I said, Sean, I am pregnant. And he goes, he thought I was like losing my mind or something. And he's like, Christina, no, you're not. And I go, Sean, I am telling you, I got off the phone. I said a prayer. I went in the bathroom and took a test and it says positive. And I took another one and it says positive. And he goes, wait, what? And I'm like, I don't know what's happening right now. And he goes, please don't get attached. We've lost so many babies. Don't. And I said, no, this baby is staying. And I knew from that second, this baby is staying. It was such a miracle baby. And we looked it up because of the problems that we have and because of also losing fallopian tube and all the other factors were playing into it. It was a 0.0005% chance that we could have another baby on our own. And it was such a miracle. And here he is. And he's the cutest, sweetest little thing. He's 1.5 years old. And it's been the biggest blessing. And we found out when you go in to get your ultrasound at your 8-week appointment, to see how things go. And of course, I couldn't wait. I was counting down to the day to 8 weeks to get in and make sure this baby is good. I only have one fallopian tube, right, but it shows what side I ovulated from. And my fallopian tube on one side had to reach over to the other side to get that egg and pull it over to this side.
Are you kidding
me? Which is just like, apparently that can happen, but I'm like, another little miracle, But anyway, it's exciting to see that these miracles do happen. And you look at people and you think, oh, their lives are perfect. And they've got this cute little family and you have no clue what they've gone through to get this family, or like what they might be going through currently. Or maybe their marriage is hard or whatever. But the thing I love about you, Mary, is that even before you knew me and when I would meet you at different events, you had this warmth about you that you go about things with people. You engage with them as if they're going through something hard. And I think that's what everyone should do, is engage with them as if they're going through something hard, because they probably are. Am I right?
I have that experience a lot when I walk up to people and I just look them right in the eye and I embrace them with that feeling like, I see you. I know you. And so many people, I have to tell you that you are spot on, Christine, that just say, how did you know I was going through this? I go, oh, I see your heart. I feel your heart. People's energy literally shifts when they're dealing with something to the level you were dealing with it. And they put out a different kind of energy, a vibration that's wanting to be held. And just like when all those women came over to your house, and that last one, you couldn't mask your vibration any longer. And she just came into you. And the joys that you experienced through this, the genuine joy, when people would see you, they would know how much this meant to you, because your energy was just like off the charts, And that's the thing I love most about you, is that you are a very real person. As if we would ask people around our community what they think of you, I think you'd get lots of different responses. I think you'd get the responses
Probably.
that go, oh, she's so wonderful. She's so perfect. And they had a perfect family. They wouldn't know the process. And so they put you up here. And then you would have those people who would say, oh, she thinks she's all that. She started a podcast. She did all of this. She thinks she's all that. And then you have those people who are truly listening and see you as one of the most authentic, genuine women that they've ever met. And the only difference between those women's perceptions are the eyes they see you with. And you have no control over that. So when people say to you, oh, you're just amazing. You're so wonderful. You're so full of love. That's what they see in you, because that's what's in them. And when people say, oh, she thinks she's all that, that's because that's what's in them. They feel less than. And so they don't like to see other women being more than. They want to put you down, bring them down, bring you down to their level.
Yeah.
But then those people,
which is so sad.
I know, because what they don't realize is that the connection that can be between us is only on how we see others. Yeah. So I do that test on me all the time. When I saw you, I was like, oh my gosh, she's so beautiful. She's so amazing. She has this amazing house. She's doing this podcast. And here I'm just this little person who is like trying to do a podcast and leave a mark with women and people who care. And I took a moment just to feel less than. But then I stepped back in and looked again. I was like, I'm not just nobody. I'm giving my heart every day, just like you.
Oh, and you are so good at it.
And so are you.
So good. And it's so ironic to me that you would even have a slight moment of feeling less than, when it's like, everybody knows and loves Mary Crafts. Let's be honest. Everybody does.
We are all the same.
Yeah, we're all God's children. You're right. Yeah. You are so right. It's interesting you say that, like with the podcast thing, because as you know, I've told you this, like, I'm not doing this. I've never had any interest in being an influencer, being on social media, anything like that. Never had an interest in that. And the whole reason I started that was because I felt again, it was like the same thing. I felt like driving me to have another baby. Like I knew there's another baby. Well, I had this feeling that I prayed about all the time, fasted about, even, went to our temple. I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I, was going to the temple. I was trying to figure out, what is this that you want me to do? I feel like I'm on the verge of something and I don't know what it is. And then when I finally had this feeling that I needed, to do this podcast, I hate to admit I was willing, but it was like almost like a little bit of pushback. Like, oh yeah, you have the wrong person. That's not like, there's someone so much better than me that can do this. I promise. And I haven't made a dime, nor do I plan on it. And I put so much energy and time that I don't have into doing a podcast, and money, because, you've paid a film guy and you pay the editor
Pay
and
your producer.
and so I want to make the clips and all the stuff. You have to do all that stuff. And my whole entire purpose in doing it, first of all, to fulfill the feeling that I've had from God. And second of all, to bring light to people. There's so much negative energy and hate and vitriol between people right now, that I want things of light to be, dispersed. I want to be giving something that helps people. And, but it's funny because even though I've sacrificed so much and I'm getting literally nothing in return, nothing at all in return, and I'm so busy and I feel like, oh, this is definitely a sacrifice, I've still experienced so many mean comments and just, I mean, anything about the way I talk, the way I look, anything like that. And I'm thinking to myself, like, wow, this is what it really means to truly, truly sacrifice, because like I said, I'm not getting anything, but I'm sure and you have the nice comments too, but you also get a lot of the pushback. And I'm thinking like, I'm not selling you anything,
Yeah. I don't think people have an idea that we do a podcast. I've done now like 310 of them.
Holy
for
wow,
6
that's
years.
a lot.
And I'm here every week recording. And it costs me money.
Yeah.
And I've gotten nothing in return other than the knowledge that I am helping others. And that you can't put money on. You can't put a price tag there. So I want you to know how much I appreciate who you are and your willingness to share the light. Tell us the name of your podcast.
Good Things Spotlight.
Good Things Spotlight.
We had it on all platforms, and I decided to take it off of other platforms and just solely focus on YouTube. Mostly because I spend so much on the film crew and editing. And plus, you know how it is when you see someone's reaction to something, there's more of a connection when you can see someone explaining a story and their emotion involved in it, as opposed to just hearing. When you have another sense involved with it, there's more of a connection there. So I took it off the other platforms and I'm just now focusing on YouTube. But yeah. So, and then we have clips and stuff on Instagram and things like that. So
I remember when my producer, Drew, you met him, said, well, I think we should go to video. And that was about, I'd done 150 of them already without being on video. And I said, you mean I don't just get up Monday morning in my pajamas and walk in, slip on my headphones? You want me to be ready, camera ready? That's ridiculous. But there is something about that, of being able to look at someone, and particularly with your podcast, because we're sitting in the same room. I'm starting to do some of those again now, where we're in the same room and we have that connection. But I couldn't love and appreciate and admire you more if I was sitting face to face with you in the same room. You too. Yeah.
And it was beautiful too, because you happened to get there right as we were finishing one with Brandon West, who adores you, by the way, too. And he is just incredible too. And so it was so cool that you got to see his story too. And we all kind of bonded, and it was a beautiful experience.
Just a connection. Yeah, that was an amazing time, just being at your house and recording. All right. So as we close, first of all, I would encourage people to go on YouTube and look for the exact title again is Good Things Spotlight.
Spotlight, yes.
Yeah, I love that. By Christina Clark.
Christina Lewis Clark.
Yeah.
I go by Christina Clark, but they put my maiden name in there too.
Yeah.
It used to be Lewis, now it's Clark, ironically.
And what a real person you are, because I remember when I was there and you were sharing some things about your childhood. I had to be careful, Mary. Don't do this. Don't just drop your job. I'm like, what? I had no idea about those things about your past and your childhood growing up.
Oh,
And it's a beautiful, vulnerable share that you have.
thank
So
you.
as we close, I would like you to offer one tip, one inspiration piece to my listeners about crafting a meaningful life.
If I could give one piece, this is interesting you asked that because I didn't know you were going to ask that, but I had this feeling all this morning. You see so much on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, everywhere, these clips about people being against getting married and having a family and saying it will hold them back.
Oh, yeah.
If I could give my personal advice, it would be find the right person, someone who's truly good, and do it. It is the best thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
And if you have the right person and you both are working hard, and in my personal opinion, if you both love God and put him first, there is no greater joy than having a family and having a good marriage.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Even though I've had
Thank
two
you.
marriages and going to now have a third one.
Well, you got to find the right one.
The reason
right?
I keep coming back is because in my heart of hearts, I do know that it's worth it. And now I look at my children and my grandchildren. They are what is the most valuable thing to me in my life. If I were at this age 70, and not having those in my life, I would be saying, is this all there is? Rather than saying, I'm so blessed to have all that there is.
You're so right.
All right, my love. I hope we get to connect again very soon, and forever and always. Take me to your heart and hold it there.
Thank you so much, Mary.
Namaste.
Crafting a meaningful life.